top left-hand corner of Antigua Shipyard, we have our red Zerg player winner of the last 2 games in a row, looking very good for Team SCV Life. It is RevivaL. He's trying to put them just 1 game away from advancing in the bracket against his opponent in the lower right-hand corner. A great Zerg player from StarTale, our purple Zerg player. It is Curious.
Now, there's a couple different reasons why you would want to pick ZVZ on Antigua Shipyard. The first reason is to keep Antigua Shipyard away from a different matchup, right? I'm sure that they wouldn't want to have a TVZ on that. You know, most Terran players don't really like it all that much, and really, honestly, I've talked to a lot of Zerg players that don't either. But part of it, too, is that a ZVZ on Antigua Shipyard can be a matchup where you can be very deceptive about what you do.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of hide bases here and there sometimes, and, you know, you've got the double ramp as well, so you don't need to worry quite as much about some of those early Zergling-Baneling wars. So it naturally makes it a very appealing map for a ZVZ, and you can be sure that Curious has a pretty good build planned out for this, too.
Yeah, we'll be curious to, oh god, we'll be curious to see what he does. Oh, I always hate when Curious is in the game,
yeah.
so kind of want to open with, are you curious who StarTale's sending in next? Oh, I'm so clever.
It's Curious.
Oh god. Well, hey, it's going to be hatch first for both guys, and this
Yes.
has been kind of the standard of what we've seen on this map recently, so both players saving up for 300. There it is, exactly the same time. Could not be any different right now, except for the time when they put up their next drone, but otherwise everything exactly the same. Now we've seen this this map go into pretty long roach wars more often than not. I mean, it depends on how you get there, whether you have a ton of infestors involved, whether you're just trying to go really heavy roaches off of 3 base, if you want to opt for higher tech, but it seems more often than not we've just been having huge roach wars here.
Oh yeah, I'm always excited when we get to see a Mutalisk play on this map too, even if it is just, you know, like 8 to 10 Mutalisks to get your opponent kind of thinking in the wrong direction, then you throw down the infestation pit. But we've seen some pretty crazy Spire Tech games on this map as well. There was that one game, oh, who was it? It was Hawk versus someone else, I want to say. I think. I can't remember, but it ended up being Mutaling versus Mutaling, which is always really fascinating to watch, but I'd be pretty surprised if we saw that again anytime soon.
And Curious did decide to gas before pool, so we'll have up that Zergling speed, I should say, soon as that pool is finished. His opponent RevivaL, though, went pool and then gas, so a little bit of a difference between these guys so far, as RevivaL should theoretically be able to start his additional units here a little bit quicker than his opponent, but no, was a little bit supply blocked and had to wait for that Overlord to pop out so he could get that Queen and a couple Lings.
Yeah, now Curious is known for his aggression in ZVZ. He's known for some pretty potent all-ins from time to time. RevivaL probably is aware of that and kind of is taking that into account as well. But that's that really makes it not surprising at all to see Curious be the one to get Zergling speed a little bit quicker. We can see him already sending some Zerglings out across the map just to kind of see if he can poke in and do a little bit. And there's the Baneling nest immediately. Yeah, so Curious kind of sticking with his pretty typical Zerg aggressive play. But you know, when you're on a team with July Zerg, it's not too surprising that he would kind of pick up some of those tendencies. I mean, July is July.
Yeah, God of War, a guy who knows when to kind of flip on that kill switch.
My favorite Zerg.
Quite well. So.
Hands down.
Really?
Absolutely, yep.
Cool stuff. Good choice, too.
Thank you.
Good guy. Told him, I remember the first time I met him, I was like, I'm a big fan of you. I mean,
well, yeah, I introduced you to July. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I was telling the audience. I was a big fan. I pointed to my belly. I was like, a big fan. So, July is a fellow large man himself.
He got the joke.
Yes.
You bonded.
We did. It's so cute.
That's
hey, Banelings for Curious inside of RevivaL's base, and we'll see if RevivaL's going to be able to deal with this. He has a couple of queens up. He's reseeding that spine crawler right now.
Oh, and the Overlord, is he going to see it? Well, he does now, because here they come. Banelings coming in. The queens with the 5 range of the spine crawler. Nice block with those Banelings.
Oh,
only one gets in. Beautiful defense so far from RevivaL.
Yep.
Couple drones get singed, but not a lot of damage done after all. And no speedlink follow-up to finish off those drones. So RevivaL should be just fine from this.
Yeah, and RevivaL going up to layer tech now, so a little bit faster than his opponent, but Curious has already thrown up his second gas, and but now we see RevivaL actually quad gassing afterwards, so we'll see if we get very quick Spire out of it like you were talking about before.
I think we will. I don't know, for some reason, this is how it is. Oh, and we do see him trying to pick off a couple of those injured drones. Gets one. Yep, gets one, not too bad. But what is it with that top left position that compels people to go for Spire play? I don't know why that is.
Notice that.
It seems like every Zerg that ends up in that upper left position on Antigua always goes Spire play. But here's the thing. Curious got in there and saw those 2 gases. He didn't get into the main, and some Zergs will take their gases at their natural just to kind of fake out their opponents a little bit, but Curious has to be wondering a little bit now, you know, if Spire Tech is a possibility. And he's got 4 gas as well. He doesn't have 3 on each of his gas, but he is taking in enough too that he could choose to go Spire play if he wanted to as well.
Now, look at that. He's down by 18 workers at the moment because of how good his opponent's macro was and how little he committed to attacking forces at the beginning of the game. Oh, Infestation Pit does have to get canceled there, unfortunately. So, Curious doing a little bit of damage with these, causing a lot of buildings to be canceled. Oh, that one just killed.
Really aggressive move here by Curious, and that worked just beautifully here. More Banelings coming in as well, and these get in there. Oh, not quite killing any drones, though, with the Banelings. So Curious still not able to do a whole lot of actual economic damage, but he does manage to delay that tech for just a little bit, which does help.
And he catches up in worker count. So it actually ended up doing about what he wanted. So both players continuing to drone, both players going after evolution chambers, both players going after infestation pits.
Yeah, but not both players going after roach warrens. Curious.
You are correct.
Actually going for the double upgrades instead, maybe planning on playing that Ling upgrade infestor style into ultras. A style that is actually gaining popularity. It's always kind of been around, but lately we've been seeing more and more Korean players try this. And if you can control well, it can be really good. I mean, if your opponent goes Roach Infestor, their fungals really aren't going to be all that useful against your Zerglings unless you're bad and you get them really, really grouped up. And just your counterattack potential that you have with this build is so strong. So I feel like this style is going to become a lot more popular in the near future.
And it looks like that is what we're going to have. As we can see, the melee attacks already coming up now for Curious. Revival, on the other hand, has his missile attacks and his roach speed and the pathogen glance coming up. So very, very predictable roach infestor out of him.
Now we've got sort of a big swell of units coming out from Revival right now. He did have that slightly stronger economy, and he is starting to produce units that do cost a little bit more supply than his opponent as well. So naturally his supply will go up a little bit. Curious as well, kind of keeping an eye on things, trying to get in and scout things a little bit. Still a little bit behind on workers, but not doing too bad overall, especially once that third base gets up and running. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, when your opponent goes roaches, oh, nice fungal on those lings, actually. Didn't really need to use that Baneling, though, I got to say. That was a bit of a waste, but doesn't matter. Yeah, I was able to handle those anyway.
Make sure he doesn't lose any of his infestors either, so better be safe than sorry, I suppose. But yeah, a little bit of a waste. Revival is establishing his third base. Looks like at basically the same time as opponent is. Curious deciding not to go through the destructible debris any longer. As we can see, 12 roaches, 5 infestors now out for Revival. Just 5 infestors out for Curious at the moment. Not a whole lot else other than that.
Oh, nice. I love it when people still use that corruption spell on the lairs just to kind of slow things down a little bit. It does sort of pause any sort of larva injecting. It doesn't allow the larvae that are already injected on the hatchery to progress any further. So definitely an underused ability, I would say, in StarCraft 2. We saw there was like way back when, like late 2010, early 2011, there were some Zergs like Xenio back when he was on OGS, did a build that involved around a lot of overseers and corruption and slowing down his opponent. But other than that, we really haven't seen it used terribly extensively.
And roach count starting to get a little bit higher for Revival now, up to 20 with another 11 on the way. So they are pretty well upgraded, but I imagine he's going to start +2 here in just a bit. Oh, big Speedling counterattack, and the Banelings actually headbutting the front units and not doing that much damage.
And it's like I said, that counterattack potential with this build. Oh, but here come the roaches. That's going to end that really quickly. He might lose a couple, but he should be able to hold this off fairly well. And look at that, a 40 supply lead right now for Revival. Oh, but the Lings, that's the thing, is that if you can get in on top of the infestors and kill them off, you render their roaches much less useful.
Yeah, but now, unfortunately, these Zerglings just aren't doing anything. This little counterattack, I mean, there were, what, 30 Zerglings plus that went into that attack? And by the time they reach the main, there's only 6 left.
Oh, and more roaches pop. Things just not going very well for Curious at all. He does do a good job of pulling back a lot of the units of his opponent, too, so he's buying himself time, but he's just not really able to use that time to get any sort of unit advantage. The big advantage that he's getting from it is just time to finish spine crawlers, basically, at this point. This build, a lot of times, if you do end up on the defensive with it, you do have to throw down a lot of spine crawlers. So we'll see how well that serves him, though, because Revival's coming right into the third.
Yeah, no Hive Tech quite yet or anything along those lines, so things looking pretty bad for Curious. We'll see if he can turn it around. That's a lot of roaches they're going to hug right up on the spine crawlers, and a lot of those are going to go down. With the Infestors starting to chain fungal the roaches. They are very low in health, but still a quite decent force, even with their relatively low health. Oh,
those
wow.
Roaches are really low. In fact, that may be low enough for a round of Speedlings to clean it up, but are there enough anywhere? No, the Speedlings attacking the relatively healthy roaches in the back. Oh, yeah, and just way too much supply being lost for Curious. He just was not able to get any momentum going in this game.
No, unfortunately not. He's going to roll into the natural now, and Curious doesn't have a lot to defend.
Wow, it looks like TSL maybe getting pretty close here to actually taking out StarTale for the first time in a team league. This is big.
And it's Revival that's doing it as well. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but you would think Symbol, you would think maybe even a Nori, definitely Pulse, but it's Revival who's really stepping up.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier. Oh, look at the fungal on the drones as well. GG, and Revival takes another game, brings it to 4-2, 1 game away.